Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those who are not yet subscribed, you may click the subscribe button below and the notification bell for more videos. So for today, we're going to have compound interest. This is actually a lesson about business mathematics under grade 11. So business mathematics, which is a unit of general mathematics under grade 11. Okay, so for the reference of my students, you may read more about it from page 222 to 228 of your books. Okay, now let's proceed with the compound interest. So when we say compound interest, it's actually very related with our previous lesson about simple interest. So very few banks today pay interest based on the simple interest formula. Instead, they pay interest by using the principle called compounding. So what do we mean by that? So the difference between simple and compound interest is this. So for simple interest, the simple interest grows slowly because whatever was computed at the start of the loan or the money that you borrowed or invested, so that's the one that you're going to repay for a specific period, let's say 6 months, 1 year, or for days. And then for compound interest grows faster. Why did I say that? So for simple interest, it's just simply the interest on the principal amount over a period of time. Let's say you borrowed 50,000 pesos and it has an interest of 5% per annum. So that's the one that will be computed. Let's say you have a period of repayment or contract of 1 year. So that 5% will take effect, okay, for that specific year, and you will have your monthly installment. While for compound interest is the interest when your principal and earned interest both will earn interest for a specific compounding period. So later we will be discussing the compounding periods. So other than the simple interest, so there's another interest that will be imposed to the principal and interest. That's why if you are going to analyze this one, it's not practical. No, it's not practical when you borrow money to have this because the interest is quite higher than the simple interest. So, but if you're going to invest your money to a bank or to a business or whatsoever, if the interest is compound interest, this is an advantage for you because you will earn a quite higher money because of the interest that you will get after a period of time of investment. Now, example, you begin so that you can compare. Let's have this so that you can compare the difference between simple interest and compound interest. So consider this example. You begin with 100 pesos invested at 10% annual interest. So as you can see in this table, in the first column we have after 1 year, and then for this after several years, and then we have the simple interest in the second column, and then we have the compound interest. So in simple manner, we will just analyze the difference between the two. Let's say if you're going to pay the 100 pesos after a year, so you will, if it is compounded yearly, so it's the same as simple interest and compound interest. So you will pay 110 pesos. So the interest is only 10 pesos. And then for 2 years, so for simple interest, we have 120. And then for compound interest, we have 121. So as you can see, there is a quite difference now between the two, a peso difference. And then for 3 years, we have 130. And then for compound interest, we have 133. So if you will reach the 10th year, as you can see, so in the 10th year, so for simple interest, if you're going to repay it for 200 pesos, for compound interest, it's now 259. A difference of 59 pesos. So that's quite higher. Alright, so for 20 years, so 300, and then for compound interest, it's 672. So it balloons to 100%. Okay, so from 300, the difference is 300 plus. And then in the 50th year, as you can see, for simple interest, you are going to pay only 600, but for compound interest, you're going to repay 11,739. So as you can see, there is a big difference between the two. So let's proceed with the formula. So the formula for this is A sub n equals P, quantity 1 plus I, raised to the power of n. So let's analyze each term that was mentioned. Alright, so for letter A, so A means the maturity value or the total amount. So there's a subscript of n wherein n is the value of time and the compounding period. M means the compounding period. So, and then P, we have the principal and the present value. So it's either you're going to look for the maturity value here, or the principal. And then R, we have the interest rate or the percent of interest. And then we have the compounding or the conversion period, which is M. Later on, we will be having the different compounding periods. And then time, we have T. And then for I, it's actually the ratio of R over M. So you will divide R, which is the rate of interest, over M, which is the compounding period. And then for the last one, we have N. N is equal to the product of time times the compounding period M. All right. So in simple manner, so that you will understand it clearly how to substitute the values whenever you solve problems involving compound interest, we will have now the formula A sub N, which is equal to P quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of T times M. So T times M here is what we call the N, and this one is what we call the I. So in the previous formula. Alright, so R over M is I, and T times M is what we call the N. Alright, so in the simple interest formula, all these terms are also in the formulas discussed there, except for M. So wherein M is something new, because this is actually the change that will make this is actually the difference between the two. We have the M or the compounding period, since we're talking about compound interest. We have the classifications of compounding. So for the classifications of compounding, we have annually. So whenever you see the word annually or annual, we are talking about 1 year. So it means the compounding period or the base of compounding period is always 1 year. So M is 1 for annually. How about for semi-annually? So when we see semi-annually, it's the half of the year. So how many 6 months do we have in 1 year? We have 2. So it means the compounding period will be 2. And then for quarterly, so when we say quarterly, you're going to divide the year into 4. So we have 3 months each. So how many 3 months do we have in 1 year? So we have 4. That's why we call it quarterly. So it means that we have 4 compounding periods for quarterly. How about for monthly? Of course, if how many months do we have in a year? So it means our M here is equal to 2. So to sum up, again, so for annually, we have 1 period. These are the values of M that you are going to encounter whenever you solve problems. And then we have semi-annually with 2 periods. Quarterly, we have 4 periods. Monthly, we have 12 periods. And then for the formula about principal, okay, so the first formula talks about maturity value. So how about for the principal or the present value? Alright, so for PP, we have the principal or present value, maturity value, interest rate, and then compounding or conversion period. And then we also have the time, periodic time, or rate rather. Periodic rate is R over M. And then the total number of conversion periods, we have TM or T times M. So this is now the formula for present value or principal. So which is P is equal to A sub N over quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of Tm. Alright, so for you to be able to easily substitute the values, and you can easily enter the values in your calculators. So instead of using this formula, which is quite difficult, so we are now going to use this one. So considering the calculators which are outdated. So why is it negative Tm? So just remember, for loss of exponent, if you have a negative exponent, you can reciprocate. And if you would like to have a negative exponent, you reciprocate also the term. In this case, we reciprocated this full term to actually have a negative exponent. Alright, so in this case, we don't have any more the denominator. So it's easy now for us to substitute the given values. So hopefully that you are now ready to use this formula. Again, for maturity value, the formula is A sub N equals P quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of Tm. And then for present value, it's P equals A sub N quantity 1. So this is quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of negative Tm. So this is the formula that we are going to use for present value instead of this. Okay, but if you prefer the first formula, there's no problem with that. Alright? Now, let's have example number 1. What is the present value of 385,000 pesos due in 3 years if the money is worth 14.5% compounded monthly? So let's analyze one by one the given values and the unknown. First is we have to identify what is the unknown. It's either the maturity value or the present value or principal. In this case, obviously the unknown value is the principal. And of course, 385,000 is the maturity value, since we are looking for the principal or the present value. Then what is the time? The time is for 3 years. And then the money is worth 14.5%, which is also the rate. Compounded monthly. So how many periods do we have when we say monthly? So we have 12. M is equal to 12. Right? Next. If that's the case, we can already solve for this. So given A sub n equals 385,000 pesos, for R is equal to 14.5%, T is equal to 3 years, M is equal to 12, which is the compounding period. What is the principal? So the formula that we are going to use now is the second formula that I've shown you earlier. So the one with the negative exponent, which is negative 2m. Alright, so we will have now P is equal to A sub n, quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of negative Tm. And then what we do now is to substitute the values. So we will have now P is equal to 385,000. Quantity 1 plus 14.5%. So for you not to have difficulty, so you can convert 14.5 to decimal, which is 0.145. So just move to the two decimal places going to the left. So from percent, it's now decimal. And then raised to the power of negative 3 times 12. Alright? So 12 here is the compounding period. And 3 is the time. So what is the time is not in years. So of course, you have to use the ordinary period. For month, we have M over 12. And for days, we have day or D over 360 for ordinary interest. Now, we can solve it now. So to easily solve this using your outdated calculators, so just follow my instruction. Use the grouping symbols. 385,000. Close parenthesis. Open parenthesis 1 plus, open parenthesis again, 0.145, and then divided by 12, close, and then raised to the power. So you will see this symbol, it means exponent, or x raised to this power. So either of the two. Or some other calculators, you will see it like this. Raised to the power of open parenthesis, negative 3 times, we have to put negative outside. Right? So now, just follow this one, and then let's see what is the answer that you will get. If there is a decimal, just round it up to the nearest 2 decimal places or hundreds. Okay? So, what is the answer? So, the answer that we have to get here is, of course, 249,847 pesos and 44 cents. So, this is now our principal if we have a maturity value of 385,000. So if you are going to solve for the interest of this, just the total interest after 3 years of this, just simply subtract. So the principal is 385,000 minus 249, and then you will identify if what is the interest. So in this case, we have 385,000 minus 249,847 and 44 cents. So the interest, total interest after 3 years is 135,152.56. So as you can see, the interest is quite higher because it's being compounded monthly other than the simple interest that is already computed. Okay, so you will have another compounding interest in of the principal plus the original interest. That's why it's quite higher. That's why this is preferred by banks when you are borrowing. Okay. So let's have the second example. What is the present value of 1.2 million or 1,200,000 pesos due in 5 years? If money is worth 8% compounded quarterly, let's analyze it. So present value is still the unknown value here. And of course, 1.2 million is our maturity value due in 5 years, which is the time. If the money is worth 8%, which is also the rate, compounded quarterly. So compounded quarterly, of course, how many 3 months do we have in 1 year? Of course, we have 4. So our compounding period will be for every 4th. So there is an additional interest if reason to analyze it clearly. Now, we can proceed in solving. So in solving, we have the given values A sub n equals 1.2 million pesos. R is equal to 8%, or you can use the decimal counterpart of this, which is 0.08. And then our time is 5 years. So since it's already a year, there's no problem. And M is equal to 4, and our principal is unknown. So still the formula that we're going to use is the one with the negative exponent. Okay. Alright, so our principal is 1.2 million times 1 plus 8% over 4, or 0.08, raised to the power of negative 5 times 4. So wherein 4 is our compounding period here. So again, so you can just simply make it like this, 1.2 million times 1 plus 0.08 divided by 4, close. So raised to the power of negative 5 times 4 for this. So x to the power or x raised to y. So whatever you will see in your calculator. So the answer that we will get, the principal is supposed to be 807,565 and 60 cents, or 807,565 pesos and 60 cents. So if you have questions, most especially to my students who are watching right now, please message me, you know how. Okay? Thank you. Now let's have the third example. A man borrows 60,500 pesos for 2 years at a rate of 5% compounded annually. How much money was he going to return when his contract ends already? Again, I will read it the second time. A man borrows 60,500 pesos for 2 years at a rate of 5% compounded annually. How much money was he going to return when his contract ends already? So let's analyze this. So what is the unknown in the problem? So the question is, how much money was he going to return until the end of the contract? It means the amount or total amount that you're going to pay, including the interest. So therefore, this is the maturity value that we are looking for. And then, therefore, if that's the maturity value, 60,500 here is the principal, while 2 years is the time and the rate is 5%. Compounded annually, it means this is m equals 1. So since we're looking for the maturity value, the formula that we're going to use now is the first formula that I've shown you earlier. So our principal is 60,500, our rate is 5%, our time is 2 years, and our m is equal to 1. Therefore, we are looking for the maturity value here. Okay? So the formula is A sub n equals P quantity 1 plus R over m raised to the power of Tm. So substitute the value 60,500 for the principal, quantity 1 plus 5% over 1. So 5% can also be written as 0.05 over 1 raised to the power of 2 times 1. So there's no negative, okay, because we are using the first formula. Now you can now solve, again, it's 60,500 and then quantity 1 plus 0.05 divided by 1. Even if you will not put 1 already, since it's already 1, raised to the power of 2 times 1. Okay? What is the maturity value, if you can follow? Very good. So the maturity value that we have to get here is 66,701.25. For my students who are watching, please follow my instruction, and you also have to solve using your calculator so that you can cope up with our lesson. So that's it. Now, example 4, let's analyze this. Angelica invests 254,000 pesos at a rate of 4 2/3% compounded and semi-annually. At the end of 4.5 years, what will be the total investment of Angelica? From the word total investment, so we are looking for the maturity value. And then this one is what we call the principal. This one is what we call the rate. Compounded semi-annually, what is the answer? M is equal to 2. So because we have 6 months in 1 year, or semi-annually half of the year. And then 4.5 years is also what we call the time, which is 4.5 years. So for you to easily identify it. Now, so our given values are P is equal to 254,000 and our rate, we cannot actually convert this to decimal when we solve later, because 2/3 is a repeating decimal. We cannot round up while we are solving within the formula, okay? So we will be using the whole 4 2/3. But before that, we have to convert 4 2/3% into improper fraction. So to convert it to improper fraction, grade 4 lesson, just multiply the denominator to the whole number, 3 times 4, which is 12, and then plus 2 is 14 over 3. So it's either 4 2/3% or 14 over 3%. So that's the one that we're going to use. Okay, and then our time is 4.5 years, or simply 4.5 years. And then our M is equal to 2. Okay, so we cannot actually transform R into decimal since it will not give you an exact. So it's a repeating decimal, 4.66666. So we cannot round it up since we are solving within the formula. That's not allowed. Now, our A sub n is equal to P, quantity 1 plus R over M raised to the power of Tm. Let's put in the formula or substitute in the formula. 254,000 is the principal quantity 1 plus. So you can make this 14 over 3%. So you can remove the percent here. Where's the percent symbol in the calculator? It's actually located, scientific calculator, it's actually located at the bottom part. It's either the second function of A and S or the equal sign. Okay? So raised to the power of 4.5 times 2 or 4.5 times 2. So on your calculators, please do this. 154,000 times 1 plus, okay, so we have 14 divided by 3%. So the percent symbol, you have to include it. Divided by 2 raised to the power of 4.5 times 2. So please use the grouping symbols that I've entered, or that I've written rather. Okay, so it's like that. Again, the percent symbol is actually located at the bottom part of your scientific calculator. It's the second function of A and S, or the equal sign. Alright, so if you will be doing this, you have to make sure to get this answer, which is 312,599 pesos and 16 centavos. If you did not get this answer, please retry it. So if you got syntax error, please check your grouping symbols. There might be something wrong. Alright? Now, let's have the last example. Selena invests 120,000 pesos at a rate of 4.5% compounded quarterly. At the end of 10.5 years, what will be the total investment of Selena? So total investment, when you see the total, it means we are looking for the maturity value. So 120,000 pesos here is the principal, and then 4.5% is the rate. Compounded quarterly means M is equal to 4. 10.5 years means time is equal to 10.5 years. Alright, so we are now ready to solve for this using the maturity value formula. Okay, our given values are 120,000 pesos for the principal. The rate is 4.5. Or you can make this 0.045. Teacher, can we use directly 4.5% in the formula using the percent symbol? Yes, there's no problem with that. Much better. And then time is equal to 10.5. Just use 10.5 and our maturity value is equal to 4. Now, substitute the values. 120,000 times 1 plus 4.5% over 4 raised to the power of 10.5 times 4. So in your calculators, it's 120,000 times 1 plus 0.045 divided by 4, and the raised to the power of 10.5 times 4. Okay, so you have to get this answer. If not, you have to recompute. So the maturity value will be 191,972 pesos and 80 centavos. So that's for compound interest. Just remember that for compound interest, the interest is quite higher because there's an interest compounding in a specific period other than the principal and the simple interest computed. That's why it's quite higher. That's the only difference between the two. And just remember, if you are confused with the formulas, just simply ask me. So I'm willing to help you with this one. Now, for the activities of my student, you please do this one. And I would like to thank you for listening for this specific business mathematics lesson under general math. So let's have this quotation: an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, Benjamin Franklin. So for the students right now, you invest well in your education so that you will earn the interest later on, right after you graduated college. And remember that after graduating college is not still the measurement of success. So it's up to you how you will become successful someday. It depends on you. And then, of course, so my reminder is learn to handle money right. Again, thank you so much. For those who are not yet subscribed, Teacher Dong is my name on YT. And so for those who are already subscribed and supporting my channel, thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.